Jordan here, and we're going to jump into another Dominaria draft because we had a good run last time and figured why not again. So we have, what is it? Green, black, historic swarm. Okay guys, so game one, we're versing a very similar mirror deck. One benefit we've got is that we've got some quite decent heavy hitters in the deck, as well as obviously some discard effects from Golgari. So what I did is I've been forcing him to discard, and then when he's been empty-handed, I can get card draw and various things of that nature. And we're just getting to that stage of the game where we're sort of swinging back and forth. But now that I've got Senge Pure Blood on the deck, on the board, I mean, I can move ahead and start getting the Senge Pure Blood a bit bigger. Obviously he's attacking with Gaia's Protector, which has to be blocked, so block that with Joshu, the Lich, and take out some of his other big hitters, put me down to 2. At this point, I'm going to stick down, obviously go for the card draw first, because the benefit with that is that we can see if we draw into something a bit better. Which we do, we get another flyer down, we get some life gain out of it, which means we're not going to die to the Chain's Torment. So it's definitely worth obviously sacking a few cards to the graveyard for this. And our opponent scoops it up. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game 2, we're versing a red-white aggro deck. He's not really done very much in terms of, apart from ramping up until this Warbird, and has then been swinging at me. He then starts getting tokens down and various things of that nature, whereas I have developed quite a nice board state and are planning to utilise what I've got in hand, especially with a fungal infection. And we also have Urgos as well if we manage to draw the land. Yeah, draw a Verdant Force, not exactly what he's wanting right now, especially as we are quite far off actually casting it. So we declare attack with the Cabal Paladin and the Confessor, and obviously are planning to utilise the fungal infection to our advantage. Everything now is also we got 2 blockers, as well as leaving an activation up for the Dredge Knight to allow us to make it invincible if needed. Obviously, See the Way has to resolve, can't do anything about it. And with it, he targets the Confessor. Benefit of that is, of course, that he's effectively stopping 3 damage getting through because of the Menace ability. Then at which point he moves to casting Tesha. Now, obviously, Tesha is something that you can keep around, but personally I don't like to, especially as there is generally some synergy recursion if you have picked Tesha and you have put him in the deck. So I get down the Soothsayer and do not declare any attacks. I did mistakenly think I had an activation up on the Soothsayer at this point. I will happily say that and admit it. But you've got to remember that the activation is 2 mana, not 1. It's because I also have the Thallid Omnivore in this, so I can do a lot of things. Finally, after a bit of thinking, our opponent has decided to utilise to make Warbirds a bit bigger, pump them up as well, and he decides to get in for quite a large chunk of damage at this point. We draw an Omnivore, which quite frankly doesn't really help us, and we're missing the land drop for the Tallow Candle. So generally at this point we're going to call it quits. We do play it out and then sort of have a realization that we are literally dead on board and can't do anything. So we can gain a little bit of life, but the problem is he's hitting for 8 in the air, so the Omnivore only gives us 2 life gain, so it's kind of not going to help. So we resign ourselves to the defeat. Welcome back to Game 3. One major benefit we had with this opponent is our opponent had to mulligan quite a lot. Luckily he did make land drops, but it seems that he obviously didn't have much gas in hand. Obviously the benefit, we have gotten our Ungoros down because we've managed to curve out, and now we're going to force him to start discarding cards. Obviously this is not where he'd like to be. We then get obviously down Feral Abomination. This is going to block all day long, and we don't mind trading it if they do get attack in, and then if they have to pump up or cast a spell. The only thing that's going to save them is a Fever and Strike, but it's not too bad. I mean, generally I don't mind letting the 4 damage through and then swinging on the back swing for 9. But of course our opponent has answers and does have Fight with Fire because they don't want to keep discarding. So at which point we are going to just keep swinging, because why would we not, for 5 damage. This also allows us to leave Fungal Infection up, which is always going to give us the bonus of a blocker to block some damage. We do have Broken Bond in hand. I kept it in the deck because obviously we are playing. He did have a lot of removal in this deck, one thing I have noted. I think he previously discarded a Fire Intervention hand size. So yeah, Fungal Infection, we created the 1/1, and we're just going to keep it on the board. We're not going to block. We don't mind taking the 4 damage at this point. And then obviously we draw the Sengir Vampire, so we get that bad boy down. This suddenly gives us an ability to make him just keep growing him and growing him. So obviously we do not want to attack. That way if he is going to start attacking, we can just jump with the sapling and just keep going on down that route if we have to. He does find Nicely Manipulator, and he does decide to tap the Vampire thinking I was going to block with it. I don't know if he had read the card and understanding that it's not when a creature dies but when an opponent's creature takes any damage. This obviously also allows me to swing through for some extra damage because he didn't attack. And obviously if he wasn't going to attack, he should have really tapped down at the beginning of my turn. Obviously the opponent's a bit in the tank. I have decided that I am probably going to cast Broken Bond on the Icy Manipulator. depending on what he decides to do. Because why not get in for the extra damage? So at this point, we're going to go empty-handed, but we're at that stage of the game where we're just in top deck mode anyway. So decide to do that and see which card he decides to tap down, but we're getting in for 4 either way. And he taps down because we don't want to discard, which is understandable at this point. So we now have him at 3. He's on top deck mode practically. He's found a bit more land, but he decides to skip. So we are now 2-1 with the deck. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are now back with Game 4 highlights. First thing, a red-green deck. Seems a lot of people had red. Obviously, with the MTG Arena, you get randomized against other opponents with the same records, so you're not in the same pod. I do quite like it because it means you can get more games in, and you're not waiting on the pod a lot of the time, like on Mikko. Well, on the old version of Mikko, you can still do it this way now online. So essentially, he's got goblins. I did notice a blood crazed goblin, which is obviously improved with kicker. So we're kind of down that road of, not wanting to really block or do things because he is kicking spells and he is ramping quite heavily. So get down the Feral Abomination. It makes an excellent blocker because it's generally bigger than most of his stuff. I also decided to get him with both. He's obviously going to chump block with the squee and only take 2, but it's definitely a good play. I mean, the fact that we're leaving the 5/5 on the backswing is not too bad, because he's going to have Fire Intervention or Fight with Fire in order to deal with it, and luckily he doesn't have enough mana to kick Fight with Fire. So he goes with the Thorn Elemental. It's not a bad card. I mean, the fact that it's going to deal me 7 damage on a swing is great. But he obviously needs to try and push through for extra damage and he's missing 5 damage essentially on the board for a swing. And this is providing I don't find any card that can instantly destroy it. Which I do have a couple of options in the deck, but so opponent decides to pass his turn. With this, we managed to find our Dredge Sentinel, so we can easily cast that and also keep the activation up, which means that we now have an indestructible blocker. It also gives us a way to pump up, if necessary, on the Thallid Omnivore. Which is not too bad of a situation to be in, sort of thing, because it means now we can actually trade with the Thorn Elemental, because we do not want to be taking 7 damage here. So obviously with this, I'm going to pump up the Omnivore. I'm planning to sack our card draw engine with the other Thallid and obviously the Dredge Sentinel. Just take a minute, obviously, to count up and make sure that my mathematics is correct. The only problem I'm going to have is that, of course, this is only going to leave me with the Feral Abomination and the Omnivore. Yep, and then so we pump up again, take away the Soothsayer. does confuse me occasionally that it has automatically selected for you and it still has the arrow, so yeah, that's what had this happen. So we're trying to trade with the Thorn Elemental and we've left with the 5/5 on the board, which at the right time seems like a good idea. Seems like we want to be. I do forget that he's playing red and has, as you see, a lot of removal in such as Fire Intervention. He then gets Squee down. So we're kind of relying on Verdant Force here. Not where we want to be, quite frankly, is relying on Verdant Force, but we can't seem to be drawing the green mana in order to cast him, which is kind of a shame. But we managed to get down Yargle, just in the hopes of keeping him on the backswing. So with this, we still draw a land, but it's not the correct sort of land, unfortunately. We're still 2 forests away from... I decided to attack into this, mainly because I wanted to force him to either A, chump block with Squee, or B, trade with the Guy's Protector, so he's removing it off board. However, unfortunately, as you're about to see, I forgot that pump effects still happen in this game, and yeah, this is a sad downfall of what's about to occur. Yeah, Gift of Growth. So we trade with the Squee, which is unfortunately because you can obviously just keep getting it back, and we wanted to get rid of the Guy's Protector there, realistically. He then plays a Grun the Lonely King, which is obviously an amazing kicker spell, if you can find one. And then we sadly draw another useless swamp, and that is unfortunately a good game from us. So we are now in game 5. Current record for the draft is 2-2, and funnily enough we're versing a red-black player. So again, red seems to be the colour of choice for a Dominaria draft. It's a shame I couldn't get any. Essentially it's been a bit of a tit-for-tat game. Lots of removal flying around and various things of that nature. So we've been working on that. At this point, we're sort of, I'm just got my thing here on board, starting to grow that. I've also got the Confessor as well. And Yargle is, of course, great. Draw a Fungal Infection here. The benefit with this is that it allows us to essentially generate another blocker, which is then going to cause damage on another opponent. Obviously, we trade in, swinging in for 5 here with the Pure Blood, because why not? Put him down to 9. So, you know, we're getting in for chunks of damage at a time. He's choosing not to block there, which is a bit unusual. I figured he would obviously stop the damage with his flyer. He then moves to attack step. So, I choose to block with Yargle and the Confessor on this. And I'm going to use Fungal Infection to make his guy a little bit smaller so he can't kill either. However, as you see, we have a slight problem is that he does the same thing. So he kills the Gargle, not bad, makes my Pure Blood bigger. And now, unfortunately, you're about to see me commit an absolute idiotic mistake. So obviously I draw a Forest, this isn't helping. I decided to keep, you know, it's sort of debating whether to play or not. He has no discard effects, and the only reason to play would be in case I drew Verdant Force. So I decided to, thinking about it, decided, well, whether to hold back or not. At this point, you know, you've got lots of benefits to obviously swinging. And to be fair, if I had swung with the Confessor there, there's a good chance of me winning. Mainly because he would have to obviously block with 2 things. He could make something bigger, yes, but it's kind of the way that I choose to order things. Because he would have to at least block with 2. You know, I could kill 2 things on board. But it's kind of debating whether I should have swung or not. So opponent obviously finally gets out of the tank. He's debating whether he was wanting to play things or not. He decides to hold back, obviously, because the 6/6 flyer in the air and various things of that nature. But he just decides to swing with his little team. I decide I'm definitely going to trade Sapling with Sapling, and I want to block the Cabal as well with my Confessor, because why wouldn't I? So obviously we're just going to make our Cabal even bigger. And this is where we sort of have a bit of a downfall in the game. So without thinking, I move to combat, and I only decide I'm definitely going to attack with the Sengir Pureblood because I want to remove the flyer in the air. If I had swung with the Confessor as well, I probably would have won, because he could have only blocked one of them and not both. So I only realised after the fact, and I kind of realised stupidly that I totally forgot about it, because the combat math doesn't work, because yes, I can block his 4/3 with and he's only getting through for 2 damage, but he is in red, and there's also a lot of hasty things which I completely forgot about. And so at this point, luckily you can't hear my original audio, but there was several expletives that I'll be having to edit this quite heavily in order to make it playable for standards. But anyway, it's definitely was a mistake on my part, and you know, I decided to see it through and let's let him have fun, and yeah, that was about it. Okay, so Dominaria draft record was 2 and 3. Obviously, we get 1 pack out of it, which I decided to open and show you guys. We'll have to do a crack pack soon with all the other packs I've got. But I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. This has been a compilation of my highlight video. So this is Jordan from Orc Magic signing off, saying goodbye.